Cowboys OT is brought to you by Sleep Number. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeti, officially licensed Yeti Cowboys gear, is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concession, and on Yeti.com. And by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com.
31-14, the final score on the banks of the Chicago River in the Windy City. For the first time since 2019, the Cowboys walk away 1-2. The Bears secure their first win of the Ben Johnson era. We are here on Cowboys OT inside the Globe Live studios to break it all down for you post-game here from the Star in Frisco. Alongside Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, trio of former Cowboys. I'm Kyle Yeomans, and gentlemen, this was a frustrating game to say the least. It was not a 21st night of September you would want to remember, Earth, Wind, and Fire style. Isaiah, I'll let you start. When it comes down to this game, there are a lot of places you could go to start your breakdown, your analysis. Where do you want to start?
Well, I'll start off by saying, I know our first word, we said that it was a 2-possession game. It was 3 possessions, so I want to apologize for that. It does change things a little bit, but not entirely in terms of the competitiveness for me in the back end of the game. But for me, I mean, there's plenty of things that we can point to, right? Missed coverages, missed opportunities offensively in terms of tip balls, interceptions, things of that nature. You have a quarterback that had over 80% completion percentage late in the game, and you still did not win the ball game. You had a running game that was averaging 7+ yards per carry, and you still didn't win the game. You got down to the 1-yard line with a successful running attack, and you opted to throw the ball 4 straight times from within the 5-yard line, even though you were averaging 7.5 yards with your running back. There's a number of things that I could point to, but those are the things that stand out in the forefront of my mind. There's a bunch of things that happened in those first 3.5 quarters, though, that contributed to this loss.
Yeah, to me, when I looked at it, it was extremely frustrating, like you said. I felt like once CeeDee Lamb went down early in this ball game, I feel like a lot of the juice, a lot of the big play potential for this offense kind of went away with them. Dak had to, force himself to check things down a lot out there. We've seen Ferguson with, I believe, 13 or 14 catches on the game. But overall, I thought the offensive line on the offensive side of the ball played well enough to, keep Dak protected for the most part of the game. The running game, like you said, played extremely well this game with Javonte Williams. But when you look at the defensive side of the football, I mean, it can't get more frustrating than that, because the same mistakes that you saw in that New York Giants game reared its ugly head once again in this game against the Chicago Bears. Whether it's, non-communication, blown coverages, your eyes are not in the right place. I mean, we've seen it all. I mean, and when you look at these explosive plays, I can see if they were making immaculate receptions. Like, people were just getting mossed out there, and these guys were making unbelievable acrobatic catches. But when you see it, there's not a person within 10 yards of some of these receptions. I mean, when you saw that last touchdown to DJ Moore in the back of the end zone, there wasn't a Dallas Cowboy in the frame. And that's in the red zone. I mean, everything happens tight right there. So to me, it's got to be extremely frustrating for these coaches, because I know they coach it up during the week. Like, you got to be on your P's and Q's. You got to be able to communicate and limit these explosive plays. And we see none of that in this game against Chicago.
I think our offensive line played okay. They ran the ball early and effective, and it just amazes me that we can have this happening on our offensive line. Then I look over at the defensive line. Barry's talking about the secondary. I'm talking about our defensive line. Dante Fowler has been a more than adequate pass rusher. I'm looking for Osa to pick his game up to a different level. Clark went down, so that kind of hurt there, but it wasn't that they was running the ball. It was that they were passing the ball, and we got no pressure. And as the game went on, we started trying to bring a fifth man, but by that time, game out of hand. Yeah. So here we sit.
And that is exactly how we got there. Let's go ahead and go through the highlights and some of the lowlights for the Dallas Cowboys in this one. As we mentioned, Dak Prescott and company in Chicago for the first time since 2019. Only the 9th meeting between the Cowboys and the Bears, NFC foes since the turn of the century. After an opening stop, Dallas moving the ball on the ground. Javonte Williams, you talked about that 7+ yards per carry. This was a big chunk of that, but the ball ripped away at the end. Tyreek Stevenson strips the ball from Javonte Williams, keeps his feet in bounds, has possession. That's a big turnover for Chicago. The Bears would take full advantage through the air. Caleb Williams, second-year quarterback, to Roma Dunze, second-year wide receiver, over the top for 6. Bears strike early. Dallas would get on the board with a field goal, but Ben Johnson right back in the bag. A flea flicker opens up the rookie Luther Burden over the top. Malik Hooker can't catch up. It's another touchdown for Chicago. They would take an early lead, 14-3. In that first quarter, as you see, the first receiving touchdown of Luther Burden's career. The Missouri wideout finds pay dirt. Going into the second quarter, midway through the second after another Aubrey field goal, Dak in the offense, finally in the red zone. It's George Pickens for the one-handed touchdown. He reaches out, he holds on. Dallas on the board. They would convert the two-point conversion to tie the game at 14. After another Chicago score, they had a field goal. It was Cole Kmet that worked open in the end zone. It was a 10-point lead for the Bears at the break. Late in the third quarter, after a scoreless frame for the most part, Caleb Williams on 4th and goal works open a wide open DJ Moore for the score. Chicago well in control. Dak and the Cowboys trying to catch up. This one off the hands of George Pickens, and it's intercepted. An easy pick thanks to Tremaine Edmonds and the diving effort to keep that ball off the ground. It should have been a catch, should have been a first down. Instead, it was a drop and an interception. Later in the frame, time running out for Dallas, 4th and goal. There's Edmonds again, his second pick of the second half, and that one would pretty much put it on ice, except the Cowboys would get a defensive stop. But instead of seeing Dak Prescott finish the game, they threw Joe Milton in the mix. And Milton actually led quite the drive before this. A throw overthrows Kevontae Turpin. It's in the end zone, picked off, and that would actually seal it for the Chicago Bears. Final score 31-14. Nobody scores in the fourth quarter after that back and forth, but the turnovers play a big factor in the Cowboys' loss, and multiple opportunities come up short in that ball game. Here are the final stats presented by Miller Lite. We've got more reaction from the 31-14 loss to the Chicago Bears when we come back here on Cowboys OT. We're going to hear from Brian Schottenheimer out there in the Windy City.
This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Final stats in a 31-14 loss for the Dallas Cowboys on the road in Week 3 to the Chicago Bears. It's the first win of the Ben Johnson era for Chicago and the second loss of the Brian Schottenheimer era for the Cowboys. Welcome in to Cowboys OT from the Star in Frisco. Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback. Let's not waste any time. Let's go out to Soldier Field and hear from the head coach, Coach Schottenheimer, after the loss.
What's up, everybody? I'm good.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Coach, your thoughts on the offense after you lost CD? How difficult was it to get something going?
Well, I thought, the bigger thing for us was, we were running the ball really well early in the game, and, the score kind of got away from us a little bit. We come out at halftime, we're only down 10, and we get start of a drive, and I think that was the bigger issue. Certainly you lose a player like CD, it affects you, but again, we just didn't play well. We really didn't, and told the guys that, and this could be a humbling business. If you don't take care of business, you don't play well, then you're not going to win. And what I pointed out to the guys very clearly was, we got to stop giving up big plays on defense, and we got to stop turning the ball over on offense. I mean, it's a bad formula. But, we have played 3 out of 17, did not play well tonight. Certainly didn't play well enough to win. Give them credit. They did a good job, and they were better than us tonight.
We've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. Is it communication today, or what do you think it was?
Same thing. Diggs slips down on the one. He just stumbles. The flea flicker, we're right there, and it's like, whatever. But we did have a guy jumped up one time on a low route, let the guy get in behind him on something. That can't happen. So, again, just can't happen. There's just too many big plays, and we know that. We addressed it. I don't shy. I told the guys this. I said, hey, here's the deal. I don't just talk to you guys after a game and just throw a bunch of coach speak at you. I'm going to be honest with them, and I was. I told them, like I just said. I said, hey, we got to stop giving up big plays, explosives, and we got to protect the football.
Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys. First off, can you give us an update on Diggs and Clark's injuries?
Yeah, Diggs, I think, is okay. Had to come in and get some x-rays, but I think he's okay. Came back in the game. Clark's got a little bit of an ankle, and again, I think he's going to be okay. A little bit more tests to be done, but again, he's tough. Yeah, we got beat up a little bit today. That's all part of it. But hopefully we'll get these guys back healthy and be ready to roll.
Real quick, CD.
Yeah, he's got an ankle sprain. More imaging to come. We'll see. Yeah, no, just got to have more tests done. But again, he wanted to try to come back in and play, and thought he could, but it just kind of, those are the type of injuries that kind of get sore.
Defensively,
So you can hear all of Brian Schottenheimer on DallasCowboys.com following the post-game reaction as a whole. Isaiah, I know as we're talking through some of these scenarios and how this kind of conspired, your thoughts now that Schottenheimer's had the chance to address it, at least in the early portion of his press conference.
Off camera, Kyle, I know you're saying that he's not going to throw his guys under the bus, and I respect that. I definitely respect the fact that you're not going to throw your guys under the bus. However, you have a choice in the press conference to not itemize the mistakes that took place in the game. But as soon as you do itemize the mistakes, then accountability has to be had. That's not to say that that's not going to happen behind the scenes, but in terms of forward-facing, you said that Diggs slipped. That's factual. However, I don't think that Diggs is what Diggs was before, so I don't believe that it's a good idea to come try to press a man that outweighs you by 25 pounds at the line of scrimmage who's coming off of 2 touchdowns on the season. That's probably just not the best idea. He's their hot hand. He had all 3 of their touchdowns coming into this game. In terms of the flea flicker, your safety was running 8 yards behind the man that was open. You almost had him in the background, but in the backfield. But you can say that about a lot of pass plays. There's a bunch of other coverage things that took place. You're absolutely right that you can't give up big plays defensively, and you offensively you have to keep the ball. George Pickens tipped off the hand, should have been caught, interception. Williams on the opening drive, got the ball chicken strip from him. Those are 2 big plays. So yeah, you're right. You can't give up the ball and you can't give up big plays, but I don't like making excuses per se or justifying why things happen in the game. Just say, these are the things that happen in the game. We can't allow them to happen. That'll be my statement.
Yeah, not only that, to me, it's kind of the nonchalant way of how he's answering these questions. And I get it. Not everybody's going to be, a Bill Parcells or, that type of guy who's going to just lament the whole team. But when you go out there and say, hey, it happens, slip here. We were right there, but then, guy just made a good catch. And that's not actually, what happened. I mean, these were guys that are scot-free, wide open out there in the secondary. Pass rush, not even existent in this game. No, these things are alarming because it's not like it's just a one-off here and there. These are 2 weeks consistently where your team has allowed explosive play after explosive play after explosive play against quarterbacks who have struggled against the majority of the National Football League. So, you want your players to go out on the field with urgency and want to and get out there and run through a brick wall for you out there. But, when you get on these press conferences and it's more just like, it kind of happens that way. This is the league, hey, excuses here, excuses there. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And, I'm not in that locker room, so I can't say, how those players feel about the situation. But I know being a former player, that would kind of rub me the wrong way.
Just when you say that, Coach, and it's a whole way you're saying it, understand that your players are listening too. It's just not us as media types or talking heads. Your players listen too, and you can't teach them, hey, this is what we expect from you. Oh, but if you slip, it's okay. No, once you slip, you don't go up on a man of that size again with that same. But we saw him later on in the same coverage. You don't keep making the same mistakes over, and you have to have a pass rush, Coach.
I like exactly what you guys are saying. And remember, for those at home, played in the NFL, played in the NFL, played in the NFL. There's a lot of experience here when it comes to it. No, these guys and us as a whole are not in that locker room, so we don't know the accountability behind the walls. Right. But all we can speak to is what is being spoken to at the podium, and that's what we heard there from Brian Schottenheimer after the loss to Chicago. When we come back, we continue to break down the 31-14 loss in Week 3. CeeDee Lamb, what's the update for his availability moving forward? Might actually be some good news for the Cowboys in that area.
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys fall on the road to the Chicago Bears. Welcome back into Cowboys OT. Let's hear from CeeDee Lamb, who left the game early in the first quarter due to an ankle injury. He gives an update on what happened and what his availability might look like moving forward.
Much better than the first quarter, I could tell you that.
It looked like you were kind of trying to talk your way back out there on the field at a couple of different points. What were they telling you, and why were they ultimately saying, I guess, no?
Yeah, this was like one of those protect me away from myself type of deals. So once I started feeling, much better, and then I started to get the strength back in my ankle as far as mobility and able to cut and like real dynamic movements, I was ready to go back out there, but then they told me no.
How's the ankle now? Is it swelled up much?
It's all right. It's all right.
Do you feel like it's something you can play through?
For sure. Absolutely.
Jerry said he felt like you guys had gotten some pretty good news on the back end when you got back here to the locker room and talking to the team doctors or whatever. What have they told you about what actually happened and how you do?
I mean, that I'm able to continue to play. I feel like anytime you're able to sustain like one of those crazy injuries as far as someone else falling on you or, things of that nature, I feel like it's a scary situation. And for me to come out on top, essentially, to say the least, I feel like that's good news.
Have you seen video of the play yet?
Nah, I haven't. What does it look like? I mean, you ain't got to show me right now, but.
Did you think it was going to be worse than it is?
Nah, I broke my ankle a lot playing basketball, and I think that's what it essentially felt like. But obviously, with more body weight, guy was kind of heavy.
Broke or you mean sprain?
Sprain.
So there's the reaction and the update from CeeDee Lamb following the loss, which is good news. He says, the question was asked, do you feel like you could play through this next week? He said, absolutely. Okay. So at least right now, everything's good. Looks like good news here, which is a sigh of relief because Isaiah, the offense, did not look very good following his departure.
No, I hope he's okay. We all know once you get off that flight, though.
That's a little different.
Injuries hit a little bit different after you get off that flight. But if he said he's going to be able to play, I would love to take his word for it because they definitely need him. To your point, Kyle, this offense was not the same. It turned into pretty much a dink and dunk match with Jake Ferguson being the guy that was the security blanket. As we've said many times on this show, Jake Ferguson had 172 catches for like 50 yards today. He was Johnny on the spot. Yeah, I think no. All jokes aside, I forget how many yards he had. 70-some-odd yards, like 13, 14 catches, something like that. But he was that guy for Dak, But unfortunately, you did not have the plays down the field. Pickens was able to go out there and have a little bit of success, but not as much as you would like for him to have, especially when you're coming into the season saying that he's your 1B. The reality is when CeeDee Lamb is off the field, you lose not only your biggest playmaker offensively, but you also lose your leader in that position group. He is more than just a great player. He is the leader of that group. And you do not, make no mistake, you do not have another man that can supplement what he provides this team in that position.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how important he is to this offense. How many one-on-one opportunities he creates for everyone else. George Pickens, Ferguson, Tolbert, Turpin, those guys, they get the one-on-ones. They get the ability to, get shots downfield because the coverage is so much focused on a CeeDee Lamb. And when he went out, like I said earlier, it felt like the juice and the oxygen of this offense kind of went away with him. That's why you get a guy like George Pickens, because you feel like, okay, if anything were ever to happen to CeeDee or they're shutting him down, double teaming, triple teaming him, we can have George Pickens on the other side going crazy on one-on-one situations. And that's not what happened in this game. He had a couple, catches here and there, but I would expect a little bit more out of George Pickens with, CeeDee Lamb being out. Hopefully CeeDee Lamb's able to come back next week and, still be that 1A to his the 1A to George Pickens 1B. But overall, I need to see a little bit more out of George Pickens, especially with CeeDee Lamb being out of the lineup.
It's just amazing that, we do this 1A, 1A. It's CeeDee Lamb. He moves the safety.
Yeah.
When he's over there, when you have a 3-by-1, and he's over there standing by himself, the safety still sits over there. Yeah. That's just how gangster he is. It's CeeDee Lamb. Hope you get back as soon as possible because this team needs you. You moves the extra player to free up everybody else.
And he's the one that moves the needle for this team, too, and the way that gauge goes into the latter parts of the season. Hopefully he's good to go for that big-time matchup on Sunday Night Football next week against the Green Bay Packers. When we come back, Dak Prescott had some ups and some downs in this game as well. We'll talk through his day and how it conspired at Soldier Field. Dak Prescott finished 31 of 40 passing, 251 yards. He did have a touchdown to George Pickens, but a couple of interceptions in some wild scenarios. Here's what he had to say at the podium following the loss at Soldier Field.
This role prior to how do you explain the performance like this today?
It's hard to right now, honestly. I've got to go look at it from the offensive standpoint. I know scoring 14 points is never going to be okay. Dang sure not with this offense, this unit, the team, the players that we have. And six of those were field goals. So not acceptable, not to our standard, not anywhere in what we believe in and what we're capable of doing. And got away quick and had a chance right there to cut it back to 10 and had a turnover in the red zone. That's unacceptable.
How much did losing Lamb hurt you guys and affect the way they cover Pickens?
Obviously, you lose a player like CD, it hurts, and it's hard to substitute that. When you've got the players that we've got, we're wondering anyways how teams are going to play us. So then when you lose a guy like that, maybe it made their game plan a lot easier from their standpoint to, double George, Cloud George, what they did early. He was still able to make some plays. But, yeah, you can't. It's tough. It's tough to win a game when you lose a player like CD, for sure.
You can catch all of Dak's postgame press conference on DallasCowboys.com as well. Back with Barry Church, Nate Newton, and Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Nate, I'll start with you on this one. Dak Prescott, it seemed like, of course, the 31 of 40 is a good number. That means you're completing the majority of your passes. You're being efficient for the most part. But a lot of that was underneath when CeeDee Lamb went out. They didn't try the deep ball a ton because there was really no chance to get over the top.
Yes, he was just trying to make sure he'd get the ball out of his hands in a timely fashion, trying to protect this offensive line. He's got great pockets of awareness. He knows what is happening. They didn't give him, like he said, when they took away Pickens, they knew what was happening, so they went to the young tight end and no success.
Yeah, to me, this was a confusing game offensively because when you look at it, I understand CeeDee Lamb went away, and that's a huge part of your offense. But, the offensive line was playing well. The ground game was there. You would like to see more from Pickens, but overall, you had the capabilities of moving the ball. It's just those decisions, those turnovers towards the end of the game kind of cost this team overall. But to me, it was kind of a confusing outing from this offense overall.
Touche. What these guys, I think that, obviously everything that we just finished speaking about in terms of losing CeeDee Lamb, you just heard it reciprocated right there by Dak Prescott. You can't supplement what he means to this team. You can't supplement his impact on the field, but you have to find a way. And I think that they attempted to. He talked about the coverage on George Pickens. He had his opportunities where he had 5 of 9 on receptions. I know personally I would love to see George Pickens create some more separation when he does have those one-on-one matchups. Seemingly he's not getting releases where he can get some separation and get some yak yardage. Guys are sticky on him. They're hanging on his hip pocket. And then, Ferguson did what he could. He caught almost every ball that came his way. He was 13 for 14 on receptions. He did what he could, but they were playing bend but don't break defense to keep everything in front of them.
And that's one thing to keep in mind, too, is bend but don't break. On one side, the Cowboys did nothing but have the wide open breaks on the defensive side, and that hurts your offense because it's complementary football along the way. When we come back, we're going to flip our attention to the defensive side of the football. We'll start up front with Kenny Clark. He spoke following the loss. We'll talk about that Cowboys front 7 right after this. A look at the Windy City, where today the Cowboys come up just a bit short, 31-14, the final score against the Chicago Bears. Let's hear from one Kenny Clark, who was on that Cowboys defensive line throughout this one.
You guys are having success defending the run. How can that translate to the pass rush as a defensive front?
We get them in more drop-back situations. I think we have more opportunities to rush. They got a screen on one, and then a lot of it is play action. It's harder to convert, and rush out of play action. When you got teams, in those situations. So the more drop-back situations we can get teams in, the better we'll be able to rush and be able to pin our ears back.
It looked like Caleb Williams was able to escape the pocket a little bit. How does the pass rush get home a little more consistently against quarterbacks going to do that? Russell Wilson last week.
It's just all of us just doing our job and just containing, rushing together as one, and just understanding, you know, where he can spill out at. We knew he was going to be elusive in the pocket, and you know, at the end of the day, we got to just do better and do our job.
Kenny, what happened with the ankle and how?
I'll be all right. My foot just got stuck in the ground when he had chopped me. When he had chopped me down, and yeah, my foot just got rolled up on. So I'll be all right though. Yeah.
All right, back here on Cowboys OT, you talked to Kenny Clark there. We'll talk about the secondary in the next segment. Isaiah, when you looked at the front seven, this was the first time in Caleb Williams' entire career, I mean, it's only been 2 years, that he's never been sacked in a single game. It's the only time he has not been. He was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL in 2024. Did not get sacked today. What does that tell you about the front seven?
You're missing pressure. There's no disputing that. You don't have a guy that you can circle and that you can depend on in those situations. There just isn't. And I mean, I understand that you have depth at certain positions, but the reality is, you know, you have a lot of defensive linemen that are respectable in the run game, but when it comes to the pass rush, there's a lot of two-gapping going on. And when you say two-gapping, that means put two hands on a guy's shoulder pad and try to push him back into the quarterback. That's what we're seeing in terms of a pass rush to date. They had, I think, 3 sacks on the year coming into this game, but there was no pressure. There's seemingly no pressure today, just much like we saw in week 1 against Philadelphia. And I think a big portion of that is you just don't have a guy that can win his matchups on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that's it. You don't have a guy, like you just said, that you can circle, that you can key and say, look, this is a game record. I mean, when you look at this front seven, I think they did a decent job against the run. Yep. 29 rushes, 87 yards. They're averaging, 3 yards a carry. So they're stopping the run, but I don't care who you have in that secondary. If you can't provide pressure against quarterbacks in the National Football League, you're going to get torn up. I mean, when you look at it, Caleb Williams, I'm not even sure he was touched this afternoon. I mean, let alone sacks. Did he have any pressures on him? And it showed out there. The receivers were wide open. It's just corners and safeties can only cover for so long. When you go out there and you give a quarterback that much time, he's going to have a career day on your defense.
19 of 28 passing, 298 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and a 142.6 passer rating. That's Caleb Williams' day against the Dallas defense, and he didn't get sacked one time either. Tough one for the Dallas defense. Let's talk about the secondary, who Caleb Williams was throwing against as the Cowboys fall on the road to the Chicago Bears. More to come with Cowboys OT. Back here with Cowboys OT from the Star in Frisco. Let's go back out to Soldier Field and hear from Trayvon Diggs, who left the game for a period of time due to a shoulder injury. Here's his update after the game.
First TD, did you lose your footing? You slipped?
Yeah, I had slip.
Trying to jam him?
Yeah, I jammed and then I turned around, I slipped, put me in bad position.
How much would you attribute that to your knee and maybe?
Nah, nothing at all. I just slipped, lost footing. My knee was cool.
Big picture, the effort in general for you guys defensively.
Yeah.
Back-to-back weeks now where our quarterback has had a really good day.
Yeah.
How do you fix some of these issues?
We got to eliminate the big plays. We just got to get stops, get on the field on third down. And, that's pretty much it, rush the quarterback, do the things that we've been doing in the past and just get it right.
What gives you confidence you guys can do that again?
Because I believe in all these guys, we believe in each other, so, we're not going to give up on each other. It's early in the season, it's third game, new coaches, new everything. So, we still getting accustomed, still, learning, and we're going to be better in the future for sure. We just got to come together, check the tape, and fix it.
How much harder is it to defend when the last couple weeks Russell Wilson was escaping out of the pocket? You guys have to be back there defending longer and longer.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge facing mobile quarterbacks. Like I said, we got to just all come together, DB's got to cover better. We got to get to the quarterback. We just got to play defense. We got to play, Dallas Cowboy defense that we've been playing and, do what we do.
Is that frustration level right now for you guys?
Yeah, no one likes to lose. We are upset about it. Everyone's mad. Like I said, we just want to stick together. Come together, stick together, fix the problems, fix the issues, whatever the issues are, and just make sure we fix it in the future.
This is your third defensive coordinator in 33 years. Is there just a natural adjustment period, or how hard is it to pick up new coordinator schemes and kind of implement them as you go?
I feel like every week, it's something new that you see, until you see everything, and then it's like, all right, this is all that they got. But, we just got to get adjusted to it. Just got to, whatever it's called, we got to play it. We got to execute the calls. Like I said, got to get off the field on third down. We got to eliminate all the big plays. And, we're going to get it. We're going to get it right. I have faith in all these guys, all of them. D-line, linebackers, DBs, we've been doing it in the past. So, we just got to put it on display.
You guys have talked about miscommunication.
No conversation about the shoulder there in terms of that. He did leave the game, had his pads off for a short amount of time, came back in later in the day. So that's a good thing to speak on. But, Barry, I'll start with you. Communication, we talked about it in pregame. We talked about it throughout the week on DallasCowboys.com. Where do you start with what you saw today in terms of that communication? Did it get better at all at any point?
No, I didn't see it getting better at all. I mean, and I understand, Coach Eberflus is probably pulling his hair out right now and frustrating and trying to, get these players to buy into his system or understand his system. Because when I look at it, it's not like a talent standpoint. These guys are extremely talented players out there. But what's alarming is the amount of blown coverages that we've seen these past 2 weeks. It's one thing if a guy gets you off the line of scrimmage and he scores. I mean, we're professionals on both sides of the football. But when you go out there and you see, guys that have 10 yards of separation, or guys getting let loose in the zone coverage and running scot-free, or there's guys in the back of the end zone with not one Dallas Cowboys secondary player within 10 yards, I mean, that's alarming because, this is the same system that these guys have been running since OTAs, training camp. And it just seems like they're confused out there in what to call, and they're not all playing on the same page, whether that's secondary's not playing and the linebackers are playing something different or vice versa. It's extremely alarming to me, and they've got to figure out a way. Coach Flus has got to figure out a way to get these guys to buy in and understand his system, because right now they look lost as a secondary.
We love sacks. It's like home runs in baseball. It's like a slam dunk in basketball. But we also have a thing called pressure. Get a guy off his spot. Stay in your lane. Make him panic. Hit him late after he's thrown the ball. Not hit him late, but hit him within the two-step limit when he's throwing. We're not even getting enough pressure on these quarterbacks to make them blink. And when a quarterback of that talent, the Caleb Williams, last week, Wilson, and it's just, what do you do? I mean, you got to get some type of pressure. Coach has to manufacture some type of pressure. That's Parsons left. We can manufacture pressure. We haven't done it.
The facts are your last two games.
Yeah.
I like to speak in facts. Your last two games. After this game, you have now faced the Giants and you faced the Bears. Collectively, their record is 1-4. Collectively, you've given up 7 passing touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. That's the facts. Wherever the blame needs to be placed, place it. You hear everybody saying that, okay, we can't allow this, we got to correct this. Last 2 weeks, we just haven't seen it.
And the Giants are currently losing in Sunday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs, but we'll keep that on the DL at the moment. When we come back, we're going to hear from Jerry Jones, who did speak to the media just outside the locker room following the game against Chicago. More Cowboys OT after this.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Plenty to continue breaking down here on Cowboys OT with Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Let's hear from Jerry Jones first, though, as we continue our breakdown. Here's his breakdown of the 31-14 loss.
All right, man. Really want to give the Bears a real attaboy. I really thought we came out and were ready to play. I thought we had a lot, and they were able to take several plays and just keep hitting us right on the nose with them, and that ended up being a big difference in the game. But give the Bears a lot of credit. Huge win for them, as it should be here at home, and plus with what they're trying to do with their franchise, the Bears are the Bears.
How concerned are you with the big plays again on defense?
Well, those big plays on either side will eventually take the heart out of you when you get a bunch of them. And I will tell you, I thought a lot of our team really hung in there, getting hit on the end of the nose with some pretty big haymakers there. Those, what we call dominant plays over 20 yards. And those will take it out of you finally. Not only do they take it out of you field position and scores, but it'll take it out of you too. I thought our guys hung in good. We came out ready to play. I thought we ran the ball about as well as I've seen us run the ball. But it wasn't enough when you have the guys open that we've got, and some of the things we did to that fumble hurt us on that first drive. But in general, they came back out the second half though and took it to us physically. So give them their due.
And what's your level of concern with CeeDee Lamb?
I talked to him. He felt good about it, really did. And I just talked to him just a second ago, and he thought he could go, so that's a good sign. And then the doctors told him that they thought it was not as serious as it could be. So all that's
right. Trying to kind of politic his way back on the. He was trying to talk his way back on the field. Was it just out of prudence to not put him out there? Why not
there's no doubt in my mind that he would have gone out there hobbling around if you let him. But let's just keep our fingers crossed. You see the difference he can make in a ball game, but not being out there for us today.
Yeah, how much did it hurt you guys? How much did it hurt you guys to lose?
Well, I want to give the Bears a lot of credit here. They were able to really effectively make big plays against our defense. Had good, really, those 2 turnovers, all of that. I thought we'd come back out the second half, and I thought we'd run the ball on them. Instead, they did a good job of making that 18-play drive or 19 plays, and after having the big play first half, came back out and just ground it out for a touchdown. It's disheartening.
Jerry, after the Micah trade, you talked about the assets you acquired with draft picks, how you could use those this year. With what you've seen in these first 3 games, are you feeling like you might need to use that capital?
Well, of course, to use that capital, you've got to have the opportunity to use it. And frankly, no matter what I had seen in these first 3 ball games, if I had the opportunity to really do some good with those picks, I would do it. And we've got them, and that's one of the advantages for, if you will, making the trade.
But do you feel more urgent?
You can hear all of Jerry on DallasCowboys.com. I thought that last question from Jeff Kolb from Fox 4 was pretty accurate to what we were thinking. If Jerry believes this is a playoff team right now, what's the next move? You signed Jadeveon Clowney this past week. He was inactive today. You expect him to get into the fold pretty soon. But what's next here, Isaiah, as you look at this roster in its current state at 1-2? Long season still ahead. Is there enough there to make something of it?
Saying a long season ahead, it sounds good, and it might be good statistically. I mean, let's face the facts.
Yeah.
You need some playmakers. You really do. I mean, by this time, you've went through training camp. You've had 3 games now. All right, you're almost a quarter of a way through your season. You know where your holes are. Your holes are pretty evident right now. And if you have the cap space and you have the money, you have the draft picks to be able to go make something happen, I believe that this is the time to do so. You signed Jadeveon Clowney. That's one step towards solving one of your problems. But let's be real. This is the easiest portion of your season. The first half of your season, the first 9 games, that's the easiest part of your season. So if you're going to have a chance at making a playoff run, it has to happen in terms of getting ahead of the sticks in terms of your win category. That has to happen now. And if it doesn't happen now, you go into your bye week in week 10 with a losing record potentially, now your back is all the way against the wall. You don't want to wait until then. I would much rather see them get ahead of the 8 ball and solidify their issues and say, hey, well, I wish we would have been able to keep that stuff. take care of your problem now. Otherwise, there might be one heck of a headache later on.
Yeah, you're 1,000% correct. This team, Clowney will help as far as getting after the quarterback, but you're going to need more. I mean, we've seen right now that, Dante Fowler, Sam Williams, they're not playing to what we thought they were going to be able to play to. So you're going to need more help in that regard. And like Isaiah said, this is the easiest part of your schedule, and not only team-wise, but quarterback-wise. I mean, you've gone against Russell Wilson, who isn't in his prime anymore. You've gone against Caleb Williams, who was a struggling guy in his second year, made him look like John Elway out there. And it's only going to get harder as the season progresses with these quarterbacks you're going to have to play. So you need a pass rush, and you need to help out this secondary.
Yeah, once again, the stat that really hangs out on this one is the fact that Caleb Williams not sacked for the first time in his entire career through 2 years. Now, that's something significant for the most sacked quarterback in the NFL last year. When we come back, we wrap things up here on Cowboys OT. We will put this one behind us, look in the rearview mirror for one more segment, and then we're moving on to Week 4 against Green Bay.
To watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Cowboys OT was brought to you by Sleep Number. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeti, officially licensed Yeti Cowboys gear, is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concession, and on Yeti.com. And by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com.
The Chicago Bears get the better of the Dallas Cowboys in Week 3, 31-14. The final score as we wrap up Cowboys OT. Barry, Nate, Isaiah. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Gentlemen, when we look ahead to that matchup next week against Green Bay, there's a lot to fix. Nate, where do you start?
I'm starting with my defensive line. You got to get pressure. You got to make Love move around. You got to start with the defensive line.
Yeah, I'm with you. You got to start there. You got to get pressure on Love. And then in a secondary concern, you just can't let receivers run scot-free out there, because if Caleb Williams was able to find those receivers out there, you better believe Jordan Love is going to be able to find those receivers as well. So you need pressure, and you need to communicate in the back end.
It's the reason why Green Bay lost today. Green Bay lost to the Cleveland Browns today because of the pressure that the Cleveland Browns is able to elicit. If you don't get a pass rush on Green Bay, it's curtains.
There's a lot of things that can go wrong at that point. Now, Cleveland did yourself a favor this week by beating Green Bay. That means the draft pick gets a little bit better, possibly. Then if you win this week, maybe it gets a little bit better too. But it is the return of Micah Parsons to AT&T Stadium just in Week 4 of this NFL season. It's going to be a ruckus crowd out in Arlington, and we're all going to be there.
Yeah.
Pre-game live and Cowboys OT next week will be from AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Be sure to keep up to date with everything on DallasCowboys.com. For Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Thanks for watching Cowboys OT. The final score one more time in Week 3. The Bears take down the Cowboys 31-14.